every month we have an opportunity to reset, rethink, and recultivate and initiate our goals and intentions for what we want to set out into the world and what we want and what we feel that we need for ourselves. The upcoming solar eclipse in Sagittarius on December 4th, 2021, which is a 5-year, which is abrupt change and chaos and excitement and adventure, of which, numerologically speaking, is so ever infamous. This is also known as a new moon because they're either new moons or full moons. But in the months of May, June, November, and December, we have the eclipses. Or at least that has been going on for this year. And eclipses are essentially as if all the lights were to break, and then when you try to turn them back on, those light bulbs were completely useless, and their power has completely run out. So what we have to do is we have to find new light bulbs, new goals, and new ways to live our life. If you do what you did, you're going to get what you got. Now, on this solar eclipse in Sagittarius, this is a time for change and new beginnings. Obviously, since it is a solar eclipse. The nodes have been in Gemini and Sagittarius for the past year and a half, which means knowledge versus wisdom. Sagittarius is the wisdom and Gemini is the knowledge, and knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. So who is really better now? Well, there's no better in astrology, and there's no such thing as bad compatibility either, because all the signs are equal, and they should all get along with each other. Now, people may not get along for various reasons, but all the signs go together, and they can overlap because there are similarities, and there also are differences. So, Sagittarius South Node, we're coming in with the wisdom, that broad view of life. We want to search for meaning. We want to go, backpacking across China, for example. And we also, really know in our truth what is right and what is wrong. And this comes with stepping back and looking more at the trees in terms of just the forest all the time, because it's not one or the other. Looking to other people's perspectives and looking into the perspective and looking into that smaller vision of the things around us in our small world. Gemini rules transportation. Short distance travel, like for example, I was traveling to St. Joe on June 19th of this year, and as I was traveling by, out of the window, I turned left and I saw telephone lines, and then I saw these fluffy clouds that were white, that were just so animated and just so gorgeous and beautiful at that time of year. And I thought, wow, this is late Gemini season. We're gonna come into summer soon. And I had never noticed such a beautiful, unique sight. And maybe you can keep a diary, like at this point in Gemini season, the clouds in the sky or the weather look like this. And all the shapes and the colors and all the things that the clouds did create and Mother Nature ultimately put together. And so, looking at those things and admiring those things, and I wasn't going very far. I was just going to St. Joe in Missouri. So I thought that I might mention that. So short distance travel, more along the lines of mental processing, communication or intellect, connecting with others, gathering information, being curious, being a little kind of all over the place, but anyway. Sagittarius is things very, very broadly: ancient history, philosophy, long distance travel, international travel, religion, higher learning, expanding your horizons, your heart and your mind. I always think of that Thomas and Friends song at the end of the Calling All Engines, which was at the very end of the movie, which talked about the airport that Thomas and his friends built, and basically airplanes delivering passengers from all over, and the adventures that those passengers and the airplanes, I want to say, with the they experience traveling and journeying along their pathway. So, this also has to do with indulgence. Indulge in food, indulge in, learning all these things. Everything is nothing and nothing is everything. And everything has a reason, even if it doesn't have a reason, that's still a reason. Sagittarius is freedom-loving, a wild card, a wild sign, and wants to live a truly fulfilling and sacred life. Think of the archer shooting an arrow and always wanting carne interests. And carne interest is that word like carne, like a carnivore, like really, really hungry for meat, really hungry to explore and do things and learn and do all of this. So that's why I say carne interests. So, I do make up words, and you say, oh, that word doesn't exist. You can't just make up words. Well, how about you tell that argument to, all the words that we have that were created and passed down from a lot of people? If we didn't have Aquarius, I would not be sitting in this house right now making this video, and you wouldn't be watching this video if we didn't have Aquarius. So, this is also asking us to looking at beliefs. And I want to mention I have a song called Malika's Hut. And the song is about a hut that lies in South Africa with a nurturer who owns the hut, Malika. And she takes in this hut is, you drive along the highway and you see rest stops. This hut is a rest stop where people stop and relax, where she nurses them and gives them a place to rest and gives food and drinking water before they move on their journey. Exploring the fields and the hills and the valleys and mountains and all these things. And I find if you listen to the song and the lyrics, that song is so, pertinent and really going along with Sagittarius. And the most important line out of the whole song is, I've gained a lot of wisdom along my pathway. And I want to change that a little. I'm gaining a lot of wisdom along my pathway, because you can never be fully like knowledgeia. You can never, know everything. You will always be learning as you're living. You're lifelong learners and experiencers. And life is an ongoing journey. There are mountains to climb and goals to achieve, but life is an ongoing journey. So, this is about asking questions about what is true to us and our freedom and what we want when it comes to our freedom. Asking those questions. As I've said, Gemini and Sagittarius is knowledge versus wisdom. Questioning our beliefs. forming new beliefs that best match us and saying, you know what, I just don't believe this anymore. I want to change the vision for my life at the very extremes. This is a time for setting intentions with the planets Mercury, Uranus, and Saturn adding the air. Remember on December 21st of last year, we had the great Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which was this shift, this paradigm shift into air. We're exploring air with the Aquarian energy. Pluto will move into Aquarius soon. We're being asked to open up and be curious and see others' perspectives and come together as a global community with words and what we have to share and networking and all of these things which are so Aquarian. This also is about communication and ultimately change. Eclipses are about change. What do we want to affirm? And this is so pertinent to if you have signs 16 degrees in astrology, which breaks down to 7. And 7 is the number of spiritual awakening, spirituality, the seeker of the truth, asking those big questions, and ultimately finding the meaning in life and wanting those answers, craving those answers. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, and I will see you another time.